We'll start in just a minute, so if you're in the choir, come on up. Diana's joining us too. Oh, sweet. The extra people in the back row. Yay.
Just walk up and draw it out first. For me.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know if the live stream people can see this glorious family that just walked in. 5 grown adults in footy pajamas.
That's clap.
The way it should be.
Yeah. Thank you. For those of you who jammied up today, good job. You get extra Christmas points today. If you did not jammy up, you also get Christmas points for showing up to church. You didn't even have to leave your house today, and you did, so that's cool. No, seriously, glad you're here. Welcome to anybody watching on the live stream. Merry Christmas. It's a beautiful Christmas morning, and we usually start with a song, so if you feel comfortable, could you rise or stand and sing with us?
Come
awesome, beautiful this morning. You can have a seat.
Good morning. Merry Christmas. It is so good to be with you this morning. Those of you who just rolled out of bed in your pajamas, we've got lots of pajamas out there. We also have people who do not have pajamas. Totally welcome. It's Christmas morning. You can show up however you'd like. You can show up however you'd like every single week, actually. My name's Jeremy. I'm the pastor here of the Grove, Cottage Grove. And again, it's so good to be with you on this Christmas morning. This is our very first Christmas Day service. Woohoo! We're a brand new church that exists to grow goodness. So we hope that on this Christmas Day morning, whether you're in the room with us, you're watching with us online, either live or some other time during the week, we hope that your experience of just being around us is nurturing healing, wholeness, and beauty in your life. As you came in this morning, you hopefully received one of these worship handouts. Basically, it gives you the most important information that you need to know about our church, why we exist, all of that good stuff. There's also giving information in there as well. And then there's also a worship insert, which is this little thing here, so that if you want to let us know that you were here today, you can fill that out. If this is your first time, you can fill that out. If you've come before and you have new information that you'd like to share with us, new contact information or any of that, you can share that here. You can also request information on the back. If there's things that you're wondering about, you can indicate that here. There's also a spot for prayer requests. So if you have anything that you want to make sure that that we are able to pray with you about, you can put that on here, and then you can drop it in the baskets that are on the table right inside the worship center on your way out later. On the backhand side of the worship folder are the three most important things to know this month. Guess what? Two of them don't matter anymore because it's Christmas Day. So you don't need to know about all the stuff that we have going on leading up to Christmas. You don't need to know about our Christmas Eve or Christmas Day services because Christmas Eve is yesterday and Christmas Day is now, and you are here. But a couple things to know regardless. We have a week left of this year, and this is often a time when people are looking to different organizations that they believe in that they can give to, and organizations like ours are looking for to end the year strong and start the next year off on a good note. And so we just simply want to throw out there, if you are one of those people who is looking to give to an organization and the cause that you believe in, we would love for you to consider the Grove in your year-end giving. Another thing to note is that we love kids here at the Grove. We love having them in worship. We also love being able to provide them with programs which fit their needs based on their ages. However, we do not have programming specifically for our kids today. We're going to have them within worship. We have coloring stuff for them to be able to do. Also, adults, you're welcome to join in the coloring too. No problem with that. We also have this area over here where if they need to get up and move around a bit, we have that set aside for them since we know that that is a need. We do have the nursery outside here. It is open. It is not being staffed. However, we do have the live stream going out there. So if you need to get your kids into a spot where they can play and you don't need to worry about them making too much noise, that is an option too. We do also have service next Sunday, New Year's Day. Again, this is the first time we'll be doing New Year's Day service, so we'll see who shows up. We will be here holding court. Whoever shows up, right? Just a note for that. Again, that will be at 10 a.m. as well, and we will not have kids programming for that. We will return to full kids programming on January 8th. Love having kids in worship. I think that's it. So, one of the things that we do every single week that we're going to do, especially this morning, on this Christmas morning, get you up and moving around a little bit and connecting with people around you. We call it Connection Point. It's an opportunity to build relationships, get to know people that you don't know very well. That's especially important as a new church and on a morning like this. So we give you a question prompt that you can discuss, and instead of you going up to somebody you don't know or don't know very well and you don't know what to talk about. So today's question is, what is your most memorable Christmas present? Not best Christmas present. It might be your best Christmas present, or it might be your worst Christmas present ever, but it's one that you will never forget. So, take a couple moments, stand up, find somebody next to you you don't know or don't know very well, discuss that question, introduce yourself, discuss that question, and then we will reconvene in a couple minutes.
Okay, y'all can finish up.
This side. And the camel, when you flip it over, right where the camel's eye would be, is it not? Is it?
All right, come on back.
Perfect thing. So it's like that's the compared to the eye of the camel. You couldn't blend it anymore.
What are the chances?
So I can show it to you afterwards. You look at it, it just looks so cool. You can't really see it too much from this angle. And even where the nose is, the nose is swirled in the wood, the camel's like nostrils.
All right.
And then down in the neck, there's a little, which it looks like there's like a lump in his throat, I say that. So
This is too fun of a conversation.
shouldn't have planned this any better.
Did anybody get their most memorable gift this morning?
Did what?
Did anybody get their most memorable gift this morning? Maybe. All right. Well, hey, before we keep singing together, if you're new or if you need a reminder, we have a little part of our sanctuary back here called the worship wall, and sometimes we have little creative activities there that hold a deeper meaning in line with whatever our current series is. So back there's a prompt on the wall. We're making Christmas ornaments. You can make your own Christmas ornament, and you can write down something and put it in there. You can read about it in the back, but if that's something you want to do, you can get up at any point during the worship service and do that, or do it after. And when you make your Christmas ornament, then we come and add them to the tree over here. See, all of these are handmade by our people. So we still got some of, this is the last Sunday to do that. So go ahead and do that if you want to, and we'll continue with singing. So again, rise or stand as you're able, and let's join our voices. Hear the angels sing, there's hope
So there were two different articles that I read this week, one in the New York Times and one in the Star Tribune, which were all about how churches were canceling worship on Sunday morning, Christmas morning, because they didn't want to deal with it. They didn't want to have to deal with trying to get people back on Christmas Day morning, even though it was a Sunday. And we had I don't even know if we had a full conversation about whether we were going to do worship on Christmas Day morning or not. We certainly didn't engage with it for very long. We're like, we're going forward with it. I grew up in a tradition, Northwest Wisconsin. We did Ulata services. Anybody familiar with Ulata? Yeah? Ulata services, it means, it's like Scandinavian and means Christmas dawn. I think it's Swedish. It means Christmas dawn, yeah. Which means every Christmas morning, our family had to get up and go to church at 6 a.m. You are welcome for not doing a 6 a.m. We got you here on Christmas Day morning, but not 6 a.m., 10 a.m. You're like awake, you've gotten food in your system, your blood sugar is high enough, you've gotten some coffee in you, you can engage a little bit better than definitely at 6 a.m. I'm going to make you use your brains a little bit this morning, though, okay? Can you engage with that a little bit? We're going to use some big words. So the first big word that I'm going to have you engage with is the word homiletics. How many of you, if you have not gone to seminary, Howard, you are not able to answer this question, know what the word homiletics is? Anybody? Okay, what is it? So homiletics is like the study of preaching. So homily is like another word for a sermon. In more traditional churches, they might refer to what I'm doing now as a homily. So homiletics is the study of preaching. So there's actually like classes that you can take about how to structure sermons, how to deliver them, all of that stuff. It's something that if you go to seminary, you often get. And so actually, if you listen to me enough, you can kind of follow along with how I break up my sermons every single time that I give them. It used to be a 5-part structure. Now it's down to a 4 because no one wants to listen to me for that long. And even this morning, there's still technically 4 sections, but they're a little bit shorter, so you don't have to listen to me as long on a Christmas Day morning. One of the sections, though, in the form that I follow is called upsetting the equilibrium. Upsetting the equilibrium is like coming up to somebody and shoving them in order to make sure that they are bracing themselves. It's like getting their attention so that you can then do something with the attention that you've just gotten. Does that make sense? So to upset your equilibrium a little bit this morning, I want to throw something out to you, and then I'm going to explain what I mean, but it's going to feel a little bit like a shove. I want to this morning defend white Santa. White Santa. Like even the kids are like, white Santa? Okay, let me explain what I mean here. What I do not mean is that Santa was white, is white, always has to be white. I do not mean that. And in fact, why I'm like upsetting your equilibrium a little bit is because I want to say the exact opposite of that. So let's talk about Santa. Let's talk about the tradition of Santa. Santa originally began as St. Nicholas of Myra. St. Nicholas of Myra was a bishop in Greece about 1,700 years ago. We know almost nothing about St. Nicholas, about his historical life. There are some stories that were handed down that continue to be told, and they were compelling stories, which means people wanted to tell them. And as often happens, those stories started like this big, and then it's like a game of telephone where they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and more people wanted to tell them, and the legend continued to expand. And so even though these stories started of St. Nicholas, his stories got bigger and grander and started to spread more. And so some of the stories that get handed down are that, like, St. Nicholas was a part of a wealthy family, and he gave almost all of his wealth away to the poor. This is a story that's told. We don't necessarily know if it's true or not. St. Nicholas performed miracles, healings even. These aren't necessarily stories that we know are true, but they're stories that are handed down. And maybe the most famous, where we get our gifting now, is that the story goes that St. Nicholas found a handful of women who were slaves, a certain type of slave. We've got kids in the room today, so I'm trying to tamp down the language a little bit, but in order to free them from their slavery, he went to their homes, or the homes where they were kept, in the middle of the night and dropped gold in the homes so that in the morning their owners would find the gold and they would be set free. So, like, those are the stories that we start with of St. Nicholas. They get handed down, they get told, and as they spread, as the legend grows and spreads, more and more people appreciate this St. Nicholas guy, and they want to incorporate St. Nicholas and his legend into their own stories. Well, often what they want to do is they want St. Nicholas and the legend of St. Nicholas to look like them, because they want to be able to better relate to St. Nicholas. And so we end up with Santa Claus, we end up with Kris Kringle, we've got Father Christmas, Pierre Noel, Sinterklaas. Let's see if I can pronounce this one. All right. This is Ukrainian. Sviatia Mykolai. I didn't pronounce that right, but that's the Ukrainian version, okay? There's Julenissen, which is the Christmas gnome. And here's the best one. You ready? Eastern Germany. There are parts of Eastern Germany that call the legend passed down from St. Nicholas Shaggy Goat. This is the best one, Shaggy Goat. And so we end up with all of these, and we can come and say all of these are important. And we can say there is white Santa, and there is black Santa, and there is brown Santa, and there is Kris Kringle, and there is Father Christmas, and there is even Shaggy Goat. Why? Why are these important? Because representation matters. Because when we see someone important, we want to be able to associate with them. We want to see ourselves in them. It allows us, as we see the important people, to say, oh, we too are important and can be included in this story. And that extends to Santa Claus, and I'm going to argue today that extends to Jesus as well. So as we unwrapped our presents from Santa this morning, we also are in the process of wrapping up this season of Advent and this series that we have been working through called Blessings, where we have been looking at how does God show up in unexpected ways. And so we've looked at a bunch of different ways that God has showed up unexpectedly. And what I have tried to do as we've been going through these stories that are 2,000 years old that we know really, really well is try to present them in unexpected ways even. So like last week, I used something from artificial intelligence. And we had a bunch of people here, a bunch of visitors here because we had grandparents here listening to the kids singing, and I had one of the grandparents come up to me afterwards and said, it was a beautiful service, kind of strange and unexpected, but it was beautiful. I'm like, great, that's exactly what we have been going for. So the unexpected thing that you're going to get here on Christmas Day morning is we are not going to explicitly talk about the birth of Jesus. Instead, we're going to start before that. And what we're going to do unexpectedly is we're going to talk about genealogies. Woohoo! Everybody's excited to talk about genealogies and read unfamiliar names. So this is from the very beginning, the first verses of one of the biographies about the life of Jesus, written by one of his closest followers named Matthew. It is 17 verses long. I'm going to do my best to keep your attention and to pronounce these names well. And then we're going to talk about what they mean. Okay? This is the record of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham was the father of Isaac. Isaac, the father of Jacob. Jacob, the father of Judah and his brothers. Judah, the father of Perez and Zerah by Tamar. Perez, the father of Hezron. Hezron, the father of Ram. Ram, the father of Amminadab. Amminadab, the father of Nahshon. Nahshon, the father of Salmon. Salmon, the father of Boaz by Rahab. Boaz, the father of Obed by Ruth. Obed, the father of Jesse, and Jesse, the father of David, the king. David was the father of Solomon by the wife of Uriah. Solomon, the father of Rehoboam. Rehoboam, the father of Abijah. Abijah, the father of Asa. Asa, the father of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat, the father of Joram. Joram, the father of Uzziah. Uzziah, the father of Jotham. Jotham, the father of Ahaz. Ahaz, the father of Hezekiah. Hezekiah, the father of Manasseh. Manasseh, the father of Ammon. Ammon, the father of Josiah. And Josiah, the father of Jeconiah and his brothers at the time of the deportation to Babylon. After the deportation to Babylon, Jeconiah became the father of Shealtiel. Shealtiel, the father of Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel, the father of Abiud. Abiud, the father of Eliakim. Eliakim, the father of Azor. Azor, the father of Zadok. Zadok, the father of Achim. Achim, the father of Eliud. Eliud, the father of Eleazar. Eleazar, the father of Mathan. Mathan, the father of Jacob. And Jacob, the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, by whom Jesus was born, who is called Christ. So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations, and from David to the deportation of Babylon, 14 generations, and from the deportation of Babylon to Christ, 14 generations. If this were a 6 a.m. ULATA service, you would have been out. But this is 10 a.m. Fortunately, none of you are out. But that's a lot of names at any time of day, but especially at 10 a.m. on a Christmas Day morning. It's unexpected, right? And you would expect maybe that it's someone who's trying to tell a story about someone important like Jesus, who wants to captivate an audience, who wants to pass down this story for more and more people, they would start it in a more captivating way. Why on earth would you start with this? It seems completely unexpected. And yet 2,000 years ago, in the ancient world, in the ancient Near East, this is how you would start a story about an important person. As you're trying to spread a story, you want to set the groundwork a little bit and say, this is who this person is and where they come from. This is the reason that you should pay attention to and value this person. It's a little bit like when a political figure is about to run for a major office and there's a memoir that's written. The point is to get out in front of it, to argue why this person is important, so that eventually, realizing they are important, you'll do something with that important information. So, for instance, if you're arguing whether someone should be considered king, you'd want to prove, here's their bloodline, you can see their pure blood. This is why you should know that this person is king and why you should pay attention to them. 2,000 years ago, in the ancient Near East, this is how you got people's attention. This is how you argued. This is where they came from and who they are. What is unexpected here is who is included in this list. Now, again, there were a lot of names. 40 different names are mentioned here. And so, given that there's 40 names and they're unfamiliar, kind of strange names, it's easy to get lost in the details. But I want to pull out just a few of them because the individual names matter. In this list of 40, there are not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 women who are included. In the ancient Near East, if you are trying to argue about the importance of somebody, if you're listing out a genealogy, you don't list women. Women would not have been listed. Women at this time were basically property. They were first property of their fathers, and then once they were married off by their father, they were property of their husbands. And so the fact that there are 5 different women who are mentioned here is a big deal. But it's not just any women, because these women are called out by name, and each of them has their own story. So the 5 who are listed, first there's Tamar. Again, the G-rated version of this, because we have kids in the room, is that Tamar nuzzled her way into the family of God. Okay? Go look at it. Google Tamar, and you will get the full story. It is not G-rated. So that's Tamar. She gets mentioned as one of the people in Jesus' bloodline. Second is Rahab. Rahab was a sex worker and a foreigner. She gets included in this line of Jesus. Then there's Ruth. Ruth was a widower and a foreigner. She gets included in this. Then we get the wife of Uriah, whose name you might be familiar with as Bathsheba. Bathsheba was the one who King David, who is supposed to be the major king in Israel's history, he takes as his property and then has her husband killed off. Bathsheba gets included in this lineage of Jesus. And then, of course, there's Mary. And we think very highly of Mary now, but Mary was a teenage peasant who became pregnant and was not yet married and had all sorts of rumors swirling around this baby that she was going to have. Not only are there 5 women, but these are the 5 women, and each of their stories gets included in the genealogy of Jesus. This is completely unexpected. And then on top of that, there are 15 names among those 40, among people who are displaced people. They were homeless or they were refugees. These were not settled people. They did not have it all put together. If you are going to come up with the best, the most pure bloodline, arguing for why this person should be king, you don't include these people. But they get included. They're the ones who are listed in this long list of people who are included in the family of Jesus and the family of God. Completely unexpected. A couple more words that we throw around this time of year that you may or may not be familiar with. The first one is incarnation. This is probably a familiar word for a lot of you. Incarnation literally means like to be infleshed, to be incarnate, carnate being like flesh. And so it often is told this time of year that when at the incarnation, as Jesus was born, this was God coming down. This was the arrival of God in human flesh and being incarnated. And so the idea of the Advent, the coming of God, was that God came down in Jesus. That's what Jesus represented, and the birth of Jesus represented. There's another word, however, which does not get nearly as much attention, does not get used as often, but I think is just as applicable and just as important on a day like today, and that is theosis. Any of you have heard of this word before? Theosis literally means to become like God. So in terms of the Advent, the coming of God, rather than God coming down, theosis is the idea that in Jesus, God is raising us as humans up to be like God. I am not saying here that we are God and that we are gods. What I am saying here is that in the Advent, in the coming of God, in the arrival of God that we celebrate on Christmas Day, as we celebrate every single year, maybe perhaps we need to think about not just the arrival of God coming down, but in Jesus arriving, God lifting us up. This list of names, as we go through this list of names and we see these unexpected names and these unexpected stories represented, they're not just names that are listed in a lineage that are all about showing why Jesus is important. Instead, they show two different things. Incarnation, they give us a window into what the humanity of Jesus looks like. But then they also provide a mirror where we, in our messy stories and our messy existences, are able to look at it and see our own reflections coming right back at us as we see this God-man, Jesus. And so maybe that is one of the most unexpected things about the Christmas story and the Advent, the idea of Advent, the coming of God. Maybe one of the most unexpected things is not only that God arrived in and through a human named Jesus, but continues to arrive in and through humans like us, like you. Maybe the blood, maybe it's not just that God's blood runs through us, but that our blood runs through God's veins as well. Again, that might be like a weird thing for you to think about, but what that means is that we have a Middle Eastern Jesus and a white Jesus, but then also a black Jesus and a brown Jesus and a straight Jesus and a queer Jesus, and we are able to see God's existence, God that looks like us, out there in the world, and we are able to say, it is not just me. I have a purpose, I have an identity, and it is somehow wrapped up in this God story as well. And so as we go out into this messy world and our own messy existences, as we go out into this Christmas day, may we do so knowing that the seeds of every virtue are within us. And may we grow in the goodness that is already there and present within us. May we nurture that grace that is within us, and may we strive to look more and more like Jesus every single day. May that be so.
All right, y'all know the drill. Can we sing together one more time? Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds kept their watching over silent flocks Can we give it up for our choir?
Yes.
Small but mighty. And we had an amazing choir last night for Christmas Eve service, too. Not the first time we've had a choir, I guess, but almost the first time. So it's really exciting. So if anybody ever wants to do that in the future, come talk to me. I also wanted to say, I almost missed something earlier when I was asking if anybody's most memorable Christmas present was this morning. I don't know if you heard me, but a quick congratulations to Eva and Matt, who got engaged this morning. We're happy for you. Thank you, choir.
Give yourselves a hand, too, for being here on Christmas Day morning. I know, not 6 a.m., 10 a.m., but still a big deal. And we're getting you out of here early. Woohoo! We have coffee. We have Christmas cookies, both regular and gluten-free. We have tea. You're welcome to enjoy those, hang out, enjoy each other's company, or take them and get out of here because it's Christmas Day. You've got other things to do, right? It was so good to be with you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Christmas, whether it's today or going on from here. So with that, you're already standing. I'll have you extend your hands to receive the blessing. It's going to sound very familiar because it's the stuff I just said. As we go from here, maybe the unexpected and shocking twist of Advent is not that God has arrived in and through a human named Jesus, but continues to arrive in and through each and every one of us. May that be so. Amen. Merry Christmas.